Okay, welcome back. Now, the heart of SuSanA is the working groups, and I think it's Thilo who spent some time to find out what they are doing. Is it like that, Thilo?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he's not there.
To do what? Oh, right now? No, just keep your eyes open.
So he didn't find out what they are doing. No, we're just saying the heart of SuSanA is the working groups, and you spent some time to find out what they are doing?
Yes, I did.
Okay, that's better. Okay, please, Thilo.
Yeah, it's on there.
It's on there?
Yeah, it's on there.
Or on here?
No, it's already in this folder. Is my microphone on? You can hear me? Yes. Okay. Good. Well, I was told at this stage to also send a welcome to those people that are online, because I heard the stream before wasn't working, and now I'm nervous because the pressure's on now with, I think, currently 6 people logged on, but I think before some. So thank you very much to those that are online and that stuck online with us, although it was sort of breaking down the connection before, but now, great to have you be a part of this. As maybe first, 3 more words to myself. I said before, Thilo Panzerwieder, German Toilet Organization. We were involved from the very beginning of starting SuSanA, so I also know sort of the process of how the working groups were formed. And in discussions, it came up that it would make sense to have a look at what the working groups do and so on. So I was tasked to take this on, and I'm happy to sort of present the results now, so sort of the status quo and I'm looking at the way forward. I just need a glass. So the goals for what we want to do in this part and leading on after lunch also is, as Anna just said, we want to understand these working groups because they are at the heart of sort of everything. We want to reach a common understanding for why we have them, how they function, what they do, and want to look at a status quo of these working groups, and I'll be calling on the leads in a second to sort of give us the status quo for their own groups. We want to jointly identify possible improvements to fully utilize their potential, because they have done a lot of great things, but I think they could be doing much more, and I think we'll agree on that, and then we'll see how to make that possible, and thereby identify next steps forward. We probably, with this representation, with not all working groups here, we can't come to final decisions on how we do this, but I think we can today at this meeting come very far in sort of setting out a roadmap within sort of the working group agenda. So the way I would like to break this down is first to actually introduce and update from each of the working groups, looking at past, present, and future activities. Then to have some open discussions with these leads. Now the reason I'm doing that is I had individual interviews with all the leads, and instead of just presenting the results and thereby perhaps skewing some of this, I'd like to give you a flavor of what people are actually feeling and let you hear it from a different range of people. Then I will present sort of the results of this survey, collect comments and questions from the floor, and then we'll go through a little bit of a reinvention exercise of the working groups. I'll go more into detail when we come to that later, but it's basically just to get us thinking outside the box. It doesn't mean that that's the way it's going to end up being, but it is one way to sort of stimulate us to think about this in another way, and then discuss sort of the advantages and disadvantages of those results that we come up with. So the history of the working groups themselves, they're almost as old as SuSanA itself, because it was clear that when we wanted to work towards the International Year of Sanitation, we obviously need to have common lines that we're working on. And so there was a long list of critical issues that was sort of brainstormed, and then it became clear that's much too many, and we sort of boiled them down. We began combining things. We actually had to look for people that were willing to say, I'm going to carry this forward, because if no one accepts the responsibility to carry something forward, nothing will happen. And all working groups since then, I think that we've also heard, have since then made fact sheets. Some have prepared other products, and some of them have done that sort of sooner, and some of them did that later. To put it nicely, yeah? So the working groups, and Anna already said this, are at the core, they're at the heart. It's the place where people meet. It's the place where people interchange on focused issues. And we were talking before about the roles according to this new roadmap, and I've highlighted in red sort of the two new ones. The sixth one was SuSanA is a working platform. Working implies they are working groups. That's one of the places where the working groups would fall. Yeah? But if you look at the other ones, and you're thinking about coordination and discussion that goes on in working groups when they prepare things together, that's where knowledge is exchanged and people learn from each other in this discussion. It is a sounding board where people place their documents that they're preparing with their organization and get feedback from others. And it can, with the output that these groups produce, yeah, if there's something that a politician takes up or that you hand to the right person, they can be an input to the policy dialogue. And obviously, they thereby also promote the issues that mean a lot to us. The introduction of the working groups here, later I'll always go down to abbreviations, but you see the 12 groups that we have with their, I think, full and hopefully correct titles. And on the right-hand side, you see the names of the leads who we're all grateful for that they're pushing these things forward, which then obviously come from a whole range of different organizations, different types of organizations. It adds a lot of interesting elements. And so at this stage, before I began speaking about what others are doing, I would, Dorothea is happy to do this, obviously. I would like to invite sort of the working group leads to introduce their own working group. Dorothea has prepared her own slides, I think.
Yeah, let's show them here.
Yeah? And,
how much minutes do you give me?
Well, since we're... I think the time, yeah, take 4. But I think in considering that we are a bit behind schedule, it would be nice to have these inputs as concise as possible.
Is it the final or the short one?
What? There's different things.
You have final and short.
Working group.
One final or the
Short.
short?
Let's take the short one.
Thank you.
Yes.
Do you need a microphone? How should we?
Sure.
The hand mic? The hand mic is right there.
So Dorothy, I have a question to you.
Yes.
Because the Kenyan ambassador in Germany asked me if we have paid royalties to that girl.
No, but that's I haven't prepared this set of SuSanA slides. And personally, I never use little children on pictures for promotion when I don't know them.
Okay.
But whatever.
Thank you.
But you should maybe pay him. Okay. SuSanA Working Group 1 actually has, I think, not all of the working. I don't need this, do I?
For the people at home.
Online.
It's on, but put it closer to one.
Oh, okay. Actually has a clear goal and related roles with it. We want to be a global learning and information network, and we want to strategically accelerate and influence the capacity development process. So we want to be a focal point, we want to do knowledge exchange and management, and we want to use open source approaches. Why I'm saying that this role has been there from the beginning on, but the functions come up again if we look at the roadmap later. So past activities are, for instance, supporting the SuSanA Secretariat in setting up the SuSanA webpage, the library, with a huge collection of documents which is also available on DVD. The SuSanA Forum, which could be launched in 2010 in Kigali, which has had a large impact and continues to grow, for instance, with the investments from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. We had made even 2 fact sheets. And there is one product, the Sustainable Sanitation and Water Management Toolbox, which was elaborated with many partners from SuSanA. Some current activities. I got some feedback from some, which are very precise. For instance, EAWAG. They have a number of publications coming out, and they are working with online courses and training materials, open source, and they also have trainings on demand. We have different organizations, for instance, Flush in the US, which are working with emergency preparedness and response. Because for there it's an entry point for sustainable sanitation. And EcoSan. We have many activities linked to the SWWM toolbox. We have different steps. Since a few weeks we have a Spanish one, finally. Steps are specific topic entry pages. That's a kind of a module for specific target groups. We have TOTs, or we have other courses that we can do on demand. We have the e-compendium, which was mentioned also, that we are setting up the compendium of sanitation technologies on an e-version, that we can also take more advantage of the system approach with the online possibilities we have. We have different exchanges within schools, north-south exchanges within pupils, etc. What we also do, and that's mainly the biggest part of our work, we actually support, I think, the Secretariat. And much what the Secretariat has been doing in the past. So day-to-day maintenance of the website, not that much, but we are collaborating on that. We are collaborating a lot on the forum. It's not a coincidence that we are involved in this consortium for the moderation of the grantees from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And there are many other small things, because I have some future activities, but maybe we come back to that later. Because, I mean, there is a lot of people in the group. It's not the largest group, but it's a huge group. We have almost 800 members. They're doing capacity development for sustainable sanitation. The examples of EAWAG, but the example of Flush, but they're not really branded as SuSanA. I mean, the toolbox and all these activities, they're branded as SuSanA, and I promote it as SuSanA product, but I think there is a lot of going on, but we can't really measure it. And I'm, as a lead, I'm closer to the Secretariat than I am to my group. I do very little know about what they really do, but I know they do somehow. I feel it. I got some feedback suddenly. I finally come to the conclusion that actually now we have 2 roles. We have this servicing function almost as well, like has the Secretariat, where we're more doing kind of supporting SuSanA to fulfill its roles. And I'm very happy that this role of knowledge management and learning platform is now part of the official roles of SuSanA. But then there is the other role, function of the working group of being a platform, a catalyst, or whatever, a sounding board, a working platform. And for this, as a lead, it's difficult for me to catalyze this, because, okay, it's happening, and maybe I'm catalyzing it, but I only feeling it, I'm not seeing it, you see? So just to give you an idea of how special this working group maybe is, but why it's very relevant for SuSanA and the future roadmap of SuSanA. And there could be a thinking of, it gives inputs how it could be restructured. I don't know, maybe some ideas. Just to come back to future activities, I have collected ideas. If somebody sits together with me, then we do it directly, but I'm not going to do it alone, because, but they're all linked to, again, the SuSanA forum and website and secretariat, and then I'm finished. It has all to do about dissemination and management of available knowledge and training materials and information on where people can get services for capacity development. And it should serve these people that Jonathan mentioned that want to learn as well and don't want to develop a strategy maybe, because we have many of them,
Okay.
Just a last word, because if we look at the survey among members of SuSanA, a lot of them, they're not interested many in taking part of the decision-making process, but of the consummation of knowledge.
Thank you, Dorothee. Big applause for scrunching that into that short time and making it so lively for everyone to understand what your working group is doing. And I think the exciting thing about the call that we had concerning your working group was particularly that element that it's different from all other working groups, and we'll see each working group has different types of qualities. And this is one, like you said, that's close to the secretariat, that's not only providing a service to those people you were just talking about, but basically providing a service to all other working groups. Because if you want to somehow disseminate your knowledge, this working group can help you do it. Yeah, so they have a special role. So at this point, I'd like to hand over to Jonathan for Working Group 2, Finance and Economics.
Thank you very much. I only have one slide, and I'll be quite brief. So I lead on the Finance and Economics Working Group, and it was at a meeting, I think 2 years ago, when SuSanA was looking for a new lead, and I said some words which supported the need for this working group, and I still fully support that, and I was then asked to take on that role. You will see just the rationale, you'll see in terms of the 5 SuSanA sustainability criteria, the rationale for this working group, and I think it's probably becoming more and more evident within discussions around sustainable sanitation, how the finance and the economics is such a key aspect to get right. In terms of achievements to date, in terms of an actual sort of tangible output where we can say we produced this, the main thing is the finance and economics fact sheet. But we've also played a role in as a sounding board, as a review board for some other kind of other external organisational activities like the Water and Sanitation Programme Toolkit for economic assessment. We're out of the fact sheet. We're looking at distilling down and focusing on some specific aspects, and on a one-pager on costing has been identified as being something we want to focus our energies on. This came out of the fact that the Gates Foundation specifies, what is it, Arno, 5 cents per user per day, but without any real sort of quantification or explanation of how to calculate that. So we have some discussion at the moment, and there is a draft of a one-pager to help grantees or potential grantees understand, well, how to actually calculate that value. What should be the time period? I think that's specified as 5 years, but what should be the discount rate and the equation to use? So that seems like a very tangible and valid activity. In terms of planned activities, I think we really want to be looking at engaging more with wash cost. We did have a co-lead from wash cost at IRC, and I'm hoping still to get more out of that, because I think wash cost, which is also funded by Gates, could do more to disseminate to the SuSanA community, and we could learn a lot from that. And in terms of work plan and plan activities, I'm sure we'll come to a more in-depth discussion, but I would very much like to look towards synergies with other working groups. The one on operation and maintenance is obviously getting the finance right as a key aspect of the sustainability from an operational perspective. And also I see a lot of synergy between the sanitation as a business working group, and I'd like to see how we can really bring together these our interests in these different areas. Thank you.
Thank you. And so we're already hearing a call for the first sort of synergies between working groups. So that was with O&M and with sanitation as a business. So I think Robert is marking those things down for us, so we don't lose that later. And I think there's also a very great idea in sort of the idea you've outlined here. You're hearing from the first leads already now. They're pitching ideas. So if in the next break, if you think that's great, approach them immediately, because then we have people working on this together. Maybe this is also a good way to bring together those grantees from the Gates proposal, because they're the ones that are struggling with exactly that issue on the one-pager. Yeah, a question of clarity or understanding?
Clarification question. So, do I understand you correctly, the wash cost from IRC is not incorporated into the one-pager at the moment?
They're not directly involved, but we want to make sure that we are using their knowledge and learning and making sure it's a consistent approach that we unilaterally agree upon.
The compendium as well was going towards calculation of costs. Has that continued?
They do.
Okay, but that's okay.
Would be a nice collaboration.
Yes, that's it. Yes, I think there is some indication of.
They have developed something. They have developed something, and they now trying actually with Christine Werner. They're trying it out the first time in Morocco. So I link you up with, it's Lucas. You have to contact.
And you're seeing the value of working group 1 at its best, knowing an overview of what other people are doing and linking people. Yeah, thank you, Dorothy. So working group 3, Raoul, please.
Yeah, from my working group, we started off with doing the fact sheet, which was quite an enormous task, considering that most of the working group members were not so interested in writing publications. But we managed to get out the fact sheet, completed the fact sheet, and then when we floated the idea about what new tasks we could do, was basically there was a general consensus that we could discuss on topics, but we wouldn't like to do any kind of a publication. So slowly we then tried to figure out what kind of topics could we work on, especially there's lots to do with biogas and different technologies. And a few of them came up with suggestions with specific technology kind of topics related to biogas, but somehow they were too specific that the entire working group was not so very keen on to jump onto. So also the idea was to then take these discussions into the discussion forum, where the technology could be discussed in an open platform. And so the discussions have now moved to the discussion forum as such. With the planned activities and future, well, from our side, from GIZ, we have been working on technology reviews for different kind of technology options like constructed wetlands and UDD toilets, urine diversion systems, etc. And we had one on biogas systems, which was partly drafted, but we would like to drive the discussion, and maybe that could be something that we would like to take up in the future activities. Also, the discussion into Nexus, what was said in the roadmap, is something that would connect us also to the broader SuSanA other working groups on food security, etc. And there, I think there's potential of taking this working group ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Raoul. So, yes, please, a question. Can someone please just... Oh. Built-in energizer.
Dorothy was talking about the AWAC publication on biogas coming up in October. Has there been any interaction between the working group and that AWAC team over there? And anything on climate change? I didn't see anything on climate change over there. Has there been any discussion on linking sanitation and climate change through the working group, other than biogas?
Through the fact sheet, but after that, beyond that, no.
Okay, now we move on to working group 4. Since we don't have a lead here today, I'll just quickly be presenting this. So working group 4, sanitation systems, technology options, hygiene and health, has done a fact sheet on sanitation systems and technology options, microbial exposure and health assessments and sanitation technologies and systems. And I think everyone is aware and knows the compendium that they have very much pushed forward and published. The current activities, revision of the compendium, there's a second edition that will be coming out, a publication on fecal sludge management, a book on biogas technologies for organic solid waste treatment, an inventory fact sheet on selected technologies for organic waste treatment, technology fact sheets used in waste recovery for reuse. Yeah, don't have an official work plan, but it seems like they're doing a lot because individuals who are, I guess, pushing something forward are using that as a platform. Whether these are then SuSanA products as such, I would put a question mark behind. Dorothy is going like this. Correct. But yeah, please, comment.
Yeah, I mean, there's two compendiums, because there's another compendium. The first one was on the sanitation system and technology. The other one is on the microbial exposure. And those are built upon the same system. And that was a collaboration, at least. It was not only EWAG, it was very much SEI in that one, at least, I know.
And that's one of the cases where the SuSanA members were functioning as a sounding board for the publication. No? So they're not branded as a SuSanA product, but SuSanA is important to give them a better quality.
So some of them are, maybe. But actually, that's a new version of the technology compendium, this one. And these compendiums, they're branded, but some of them are not branded. Finally, it doesn't matter, but it would be nice to brand them. Because
Put the logo on. But it's given there. It's given in introduction. It has been produced. The names are given with the SuSanA as one of the main sounding board values. So enough. If they want it like this, why not?
But somehow it's not so much discussed in the working group. That's the thing. If you would like to call it a working group product or something, it should at least have these things.
Okay, that's the additional effort that maybe Chris Zuberg doesn't find time, and one should motivate him to find time.
Dorothy? Yeah, 1 second, one here.
sorry, but just that's one service function that discussion within the working group. That's how the sounding board works. So probably the compendium has been sent around and discussed, and the sounding board has been functioning somehow. So.
Thank you for that. As I'm handing the microphone over here, maybe just to make it clear to all that this part of the session, we do want to discuss the points that are critical to you. That's why I'm taking the liberty here and there to maybe use a few more minutes and to mark down critical issues that maybe need to be addressed in more depth at another time.
Yeah, thank you. Just to add on this microbial exposure compendium, that was initiated as a group exercise within the group, and it was circulated within the group also. So that qualifies it as a SuSanA document.
Thank you. So let's move on to working group 5, food security, productive sanitation systems.
Yeah, the working group 5 was one of those working groups that started rather sooner than later. So I think we developed the first of all the fact sheets on food security and productive sanitation. It was even revised and updated in 2011. Then there was this publication mainly driven by SEI on the practical guidance on the use of urine in crop production, with a lot of feedback also from the members of the working group. And as a side product, because this publication was more a general document, we also developed a Philippine or a more country-specific guideline on the use of urine. We also had some articles in the Urban Agriculture magazine. We produced a couple of case studies, and since then the group became rather silent. So, like probably some of the other groups as well, there was nothing really to work on, or there was not enough drive from the individual members of the group. However, to the planned activities, I just attended the Terra Preta Sanitation Conference the last 2 days, and I offered to them to use the working group as a platform for them to not just have that conference, but take the discussion forward through that working group. And the idea now is to come up with another fact sheet, or maybe not a fact sheet, but rather a discussion paper on Terra Preta Sanitation, try to better define what Terra Preta Sanitation is, and so that's one of the planned activities. That's mainly it. Mm-hmm.
I'm curious about the new working group number 12, nutrition and sanitation, and I'm curious what the difference is between food security and nutrition. Well, and I noticed you might be presenting on both of them.
No, he won't be, so let's keep that suspense and let Carl unveil that later, yeah? But we will come back to it. Okay, thank you, Robert. And and I thought it was great that there was an immediate round of applause for the many things that they've done in the past, even if currently there's not so much. In your Terra Preta thing, please write it on a card, because that's one thing that's still missing here and we need to amend. Working group 6, Raoul again.
Well, I'll be presenting on behalf of Christoph, since he's not here, who's the main lead, and I support him with the activities in this working group. Well, this working group has been very active in the beginning with preparing the fact sheet, which was one really good product, and then coming up with a thematic paper on sustainable sanitation in cities. And further, this core group of members or the working group members then came up with a publication on sustainable sanitation in cities, a new framework for action giving. It's a book publication where a lot of SuSanA members such as IWA, SEI, ERWAG, Urban Water House, TU Delft, and GIZ, we all were involved in writing this publication. And after that, we tried to take up, in 2 years ago in the SuSanA meeting, it was said that working group should self-promote itself and organize side events and etc. to then generate awareness around the topics. And that's what we did. For example, in Mumbai, in the WSSCC conference, we organized a side event. And so we have been active in these roles. A working group meeting has been now also planned here in Stockholm tomorrow in the evening at Reacha Talk Hotel, just next to the World Water Week event at 1900 hours. And there we are also looking at topics such as environmental health, sanitary system risk assessment to support city sanitation planning as one of the topics that we could possibly work on, or also learning, dissemination, and uptake of experiences from the forthcoming BMGF DFID City Partnership funded projects. So that's something that is coming up soon, so maybe these learning experiences could be then extrapolated within the working group. So thank you.
Rahul, Dirk Walter wanted to do more about city sanitation plans. Did he contact you? Okay, so that's something that the Indian sanitation project of GIZ is concentrating on city sanitation plans, making plans for whole cities, and that there are as well projects in, I think, 2 African and 1 more Asian country working on that level. And I was guessing that that could be interesting for the working group, and I hope that dedicated people will.
And who wanted to get in touch?
Dirk Walter is the one, is a GIZ colleague in India who said that actually he's doing that anyway, and he will do that as well inside GIZ with other projects, but maybe it as well could be interesting for the SuSanA working group.
But that's the topic we try to figure out within the city sanitation planning, working on the environmental health sanitary system risk assessments to support the city sanitation planning.
Okay, so it's there in that way. Okay.
Tomorrow as
Okay.
a topic, if we could work on that.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And please say again, because I saw some people taking notes and then sort of, when is the meeting tomorrow?
Tomorrow at 1900 hours at Reacha Hotel, which is just next to the Stockholm event, the World Water event. So it's just next to them.
Yeah, thanks. We are getting very close to new edition of Sanitation 21 planning framework, which has been in the pipeline for about as long as I can remember. And we are working closely with Dirk Walter, who is providing some very good input. So because something we wanted to do with the Sanitation 21 planning framework was build on existing experience. India and Indonesia being 2 countries where there is some really strong experience on city sanitation planning. So we don't want the planning framework just to be a theoretical, conceptual, nice idea stuff, but we want to say that this framework is based on existing practice. So Arnie's comment there from linking in with GIZ and GIZ's activities in city sanitation planning is, I think, something that could be a key area to focus on, and we can look at whether the working group can contribute to this final stage in Sanitation 21. Thanks.
It's very much a part of the agenda.
Okay, and I was just reminded again, and I'm reminding everyone to please take the microphone, otherwise the people at home will feel left out and perhaps drop off. But anyone that's at home and comes to your meeting tomorrow, they just missed where it is because you didn't have the mic, but yeah, please write us an email. I don't think people are traveling across the world. But okay, so we'll go to group 7, and here I think on behalf of group 7, Madeleine will be saying something.
I have also a presentation. Did you put it
Yes, it's on here.
Yeah. So this group is a very fortunate group because it has a babysitter. I have been babysitting this group since it started. I was starting with a working group 1, and then it is very closely linked to working group 7, because that's really where we want everything that we are doing reached down. This is the most important one in my view, because it has all about the ones that are going to use whatever is produced and thought of in the other groups. So that's why when working group leads or whatever, they have not been able to come to meetings, I've been kindly taking on this group and try to bring it forward. And it is also the group that really attracts a lot of participants when we do the meetings in the regions. So then a lot of people come, and we have had very, very interesting presentations on what's going on and exchange in this. So it's a great pleasure to be linked to it and to see that it's still very vital. And even though, unfortunately, the too dynamic Claudia and what's her name? Belinda. Very two active, very smart working group leads. Unfortunately, they're not here, but I'm happy to do this for them. So, yes, we have done 2 fact sheets. One about sustainable sanitation in schools, and that was really a group work with a lot of fights. I said, I will not sign anything like this if you go through. And it was a big, I think we had big fights on sustainability here about school sanitation, what you can have in schools and what you can have not. So I feel that's a real group product, as well as a gender group. It's also very interesting. And they have now established a list for exchange of information in the group. I have not followed that, but these communication have been. Now, we have not been in the region this year, and that has also affected this working group, actually. So what was discussed here last year was really the scaling up, and how do we do scaling up, and do we have good stories about that? This is really tricky. We have good examples, but we needed to reach out and so forth. So they have gone ahead, and they are now doing something that they call sustainable school studies, and it is emerging from a working group meeting, and they try to target not only professionals but also media donors. They want to raise awareness about successful school sanitation, sustainable school sanitation, and they want to look at the different kind of sustainable aspects, and they want also to lift up and make visible all our partners out there working, trying to implement sustainable infrastructure for the people who need it most. So they have already gathered 27 studies, and this is led and coordinated by Women in Europe for Common Future and GIZ, and this is but you can see there's a lot of different case studies where all kind of organizations are involved. So, for example, we are here in Stockholm, we are collaborating, helping out Colombia to show their case, for example, and we are contributing to this project. We have Sarar Transformation, they are not here, but it's a very active group in Mexico bringing in their knowledge. So this is a good example of how we bring it forward. Another thing that has been on the agenda, and it's coming very hard, is menstruation and menstruation hygiene and how it interacts with sanitation. It's something that we have also, we did not start it here, but we have contributed to this all the time. SAI has been involved in Gates-funded research on menstruation management and sanitation system, which has brought us to high-level panels in South Africa and in Geneva. We have other partners, Wash United. We have the Collaborative Council very active on this. And then you say, so what is it? This is very, we're talking sanitation is taboo, but how about menstruation? Hey, you guys? It's not so nice. We don't talk about it. But we have started, and it's really coming on. And so why? Well, a woman menstruates 12 years of her life, and she used something to protect her so she can be out and be social. And we have reason to look at this, because we look at a sustainable sanitation system, what's happening to the system. And if we don't care about that, the system will break down. So we have a very good illustrative pictures from South Africa here, and what you see in that mess is a lot of rags, and those are used for systems. So we have to take that when we look at our system. We have been working then, this is an interconnection, so the user need to relate with the system as well. So in collaboration, there has been school books for girls growing up at schools, and this was work with Peter Morgan and Water Research Commission, SEI and Columbia University, and we have done this, and they are existing in African countries, and this is now spreading to India through the council. We're covering up, and so it's where to put the disposal of these products. We have a meeting. We will discuss this tomorrow, and what can we see about the future? Well, I can see a lot of work here. We are busy. This is a busy group. This is from the SDGs. And we also would like to explore how the functional ladder can be used with clues and other methods. So thank you very much. We did not pay these guys, but we should. Thank you.
Thank you, Madeleine. Yeah?
There's a question from one of our viewers.
Please, take that.
Zenman from India has just asked us on Twitter that, as well as he's one of our viewers, that if the city sanitation plans in India, are they working on the concept of sustainable sanitation? Because he thinks they are all focused on conventional. Well, the city sanitation plans that the ones which GIZ is working with, along with the Ministry of Urban Development, they have used, starting using the base of SuSanA's sustainability criteria, they have developed their own specific sustainability criteria, and they are in agreement with that. And based on these, they have tried to develop the city sanitation plans. And they try to focus more on decentralized sanitation solutions, which are appropriate as per the areas. And if a conventional sanitation system was found more appropriate, then they have been used. But otherwise, there's been more focus on using decentralized sanitation options as intermediate solutions. Thank you.
Thank you, Rahul, and thank you for that question from abroad. Working Group 8, I will shortly do, because Jan Spitz is not here. Emergency and reconstruction situations. The achievements here, also a fact sheet. And apart from that, he has said they've not done so many other things, but they have tried to post sort of new findings whenever that comes up. Current activities, they have none, but there were a few suggestions for topics, specifications on raised latrines, on desludging and, that should have been emergency areas or difficult areas. Fecal sludge management in emergency situations. So there were some very specific topics that please get in touch with him if you're interested on collaborating or working on those issues. Working Group 9, sorry. Yeah, of course.
How do we find contact information for the working group, please?
Very good question, and sometimes it's those simple questions that can help us to increase the outreach. On the web page, you will find in the main menu a bullet point or a point that's called Working Groups. And when you go there, you can find each of the working groups, and when you click on that, you find the names and organizations of these leads and their email addresses, and can contact them immediately. We should write that down, maybe making it more widely known how to contact the relevant people. Sanitation is a business and public awareness, a working group that had a quite slow start at the beginning. I was part of that, so maybe also partly at fault for not acting more quicker on this, but there was a fact sheet that was produced, Sanitation as a Business, and a fact sheet, Public Awareness and Sanitation Marketing. Current activities, there are none. Planned activities, also none. Both of these leads, we'll sort of get to that later when I sort of wrote to them, said, oh, maybe we're not the right people to be leads, and so I think we will later also get into some issues perhaps of some leads currently maybe not feeling they're perfect for the role that they're doing, because they don't feel they can provide that amount of input to drive specific ideas forward, but they have done a good job in the past in driving these things forward. Jack Sim, of course, with World Toilet Day becoming an official UN day, basically extends to all SuSanA partners to get in touch with him if you want to rally around that day and do things jointly. Group 10, operation and maintenance. I spoke with Günther Langergraber, and the achievements here are also a fact sheet, and that they have also outreached by being present with a thematic session sort of outside the normal SuSanA realm. Current activities, none. but they have an idea for a product involving the business sector, and I welcome Johannes, who he at least mentioned to me. I think that this is something that you're discussing on doing together, a product for involving the business sector more, some sort of paper or something like that, where he said...
I would like to, I think that this
No?
would be the best home for that.
Sorry, microphone. Yeah?
I've come here to get the connections needed to put a home to this research on ways to reduce the use of certain forms of paper, utilize paper more intelligently as a way for disinfectant, not just for pleasure, as it is utilized, especially in the United States and Canada. And of course, extending the use, extending various systems to keep it from the water sources. I'm concerned about lake management.
Okay. Johannes just looks confused on that point. Sorry for...
Yes, confused. Hello, everybody. I was late due to the flight.
I just wanted to find a reason to welcome you.
Yeah, actually, just some few information. We do a lot of work right now, for business in the field of business development, for sustainable sanitation and water management. We do it in Willisau at our SEWA's headquarters, and we do it in the meanwhile also in Zambia. We just completed the first startup program. We call it a smart startup. And what I see as an outcome of all these activities.
A bit louder, please.
Okay, as an outcome of all these activities, I think it would probably now really the time to look how we could share, the background information with the group. But I just looked puzzled because I was not aware that I'm here on the agenda. But of course, since we are deep in the issue and in the process of really starting up sustainable water and sanitation businesses, that's the time now. And I think we can really look back to, we have in the meanwhile, just to give you one figure, we have more than 15 startups already now taxiing or half flying or flying. And the new batch, which actually SEWA startup batch, which will start just next week, on the 9th, already comes with 9 new startups. I think it's a time to share, and I think we have just to sit together. But I was not prepared to. Okay. But
no,
thanks
sorry
anyway
for springing that on you, but when I was talking to Günther, he was just saying that he's in touch with you concerning just issues of business.
Yes, kind of, but not on a structured way.
Or maybe he intends to do
now.
much more so. But I think we heard from Jonathan before as well that this is an issue that he's interested. I think.
But anyway, we can share it. Then there is the IVA group. The young professional. With them, we are in close contact with the guys. So
okay.
That's the state.
All right. Working Group 11, Groundwater Protection, has produced a fact sheet, has done a workshop on this issue in Lusaka, and they were quite specific on that. They feel they've done a very good job of bringing together all the key publications around this issue and then putting it in the library. And as we were discussing this on the call, and the current activities, they have nothing planned at present, that sort of came up as one idea that they should probably update that part of the library and just make that even better for people to use, and to also review documents of other working groups with regard to this aspect, to highlight sort of how they put their working group. We'll get to this a little bit later sort of in the study, but to them they were quite aware that the working group currently was not active, but just the fact that the fact sheet had been put out and that they're out there as a working group makes this topic visible to people outside, but the working group currently is not working. Okay, and now we can unveil the answer to your question. Carl, please, on Working Group 12.
Thank you very much. I might start just a bit with a background and context of this working group. It started about a year ago now from the last World Water Week discussion with some academic and person as well from ACF and from GTO. And we thought that it would be a good idea to have a working group really concentrating on nutrition and the impact it had, or the WASH impact it had on nutritional state. So this is where it started. We just formed when I was last 6 months ago now in the SuSanA meeting. We decided to open the working group, and it started quite fast as we already have about 200 members, I think, 200 and plus, something like this. Okay, so we started quite fast, and we have quite a lot of discussion and people speaking about this. I mean, like, in the context that we are speaking about now, you probably heard quite a lot of donors, quite a lot of persons involved. We are speaking a lot about the nutritional sensitive activities. A lot of review been done. We had the Lancet review on nutrition. We had as well the Cochrane review. So there's quite a lot of document that came out. And the purpose of this working group, I see it myself, quite a lot of advocacy to fight for WASH being still at the center of a couple of issues as nutrition.
Can you please pass? Oh, okay.
I might ask you the question now, and I'll answer because it's linked to it.
I didn't mean to steal your question. I think it's along the same lines, though, in terms of sort of defining the difference between nutrition and food security, and why is there a way to link those two groups, or are they distinctly different groups?
Well, I think this is the main purpose why there's a working group on nutrition, and it's a common mistake that we believe that a country which have a good import of food is a country with a good national nutritional status. This is a common mistake, and this is really something that the working group need to focus on. It means that when we have a problem of undernutrition, it has three different aspects. The first one is the quality and the quantity of food. This is the one you are speaking about. Of course, is very important. The second aspect, which is the primary health, or health in general. It could be health as a pathological, or it could be a mental health. And the third one, which is the one that is quite often forgot, is the sanitary situation of the country, which means a direct link to infection. So we know that our children which goes to a feeding center, if he comes back out of it and he go back to their own village and has infection, would not be able to grow again his natural nutritional status. So it's very important that we are focusing on the WASH, which is really all three aspects of the water, sanitation and hygiene. Yes?
It's nice to speak about food security. Lunch is coming up. But anyhow, I'm referring to this. I think it's good to start out if you have a focus on a group like this. I think it's good to have a specific group. And then what happened, there was a gender group, but it was incorporated later on into the community. So maybe later on there is a natural merge. But it could be folk to say, yes, we are really interested in nutrition. We want to work like this.
I mean, the initial idea was actually to have it under the food security group, but then we realized it's really something else. I mean, the one thing is really talking about reusing certain resources to produce food, and the other is really make effective use of the food that we consume, and do not lose it through diarrhea and warm infections and kind of like that. And that's really something else, and it's kind of a blind spot that not so many people are aware about, so we thought it's probably worth having an extra working group for that.
just going to finish on one thing, or not finish because there's a question, but one thing is the fact sheet will soon come out. It's been done in partnership with the members. It's still a draft, so happy to have any comment if anyone wants to participate in.
I believe that food security has to be a part of the nutrition, because if you waste your waste, then you have less fertilizer for food security, and that is a part of the nutrition in the fertilizer. So I can't see that it has to be like separated, but it has to be part of under the nutrition section.
Well, Ahmed? Ahmed. Well, I don't think there's a space to speak about this, and I don't want to take too long. So I believe you need to do your SuSanA registration and be part of the working group, and we can discuss this.
That's the way to get more members. Excellent. And there's one more task that I think goes on there on planned activities. On our new banner over here, we need a number 12. Yeah? 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 It's not.
Yeah, so just say the date for the people.
Oh, please.
Yeah, so it's 2 o'clock on the 5th. The 2 o'clock has been decided only a couple of days ago, so just want to make sure that everyone knows it. So at 2 o'clock. Do you know the room where it is? I don't know the room now, but maybe. Do you know? Who knows? Yeah, okay, I don't know it.
That's room M19.
Okay, room M19. Okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks for that. Applause. Oh, one more question back there. Can you please pass it through?
Thank you very much. Actually, my question is among the all groups. Actually, just wondering, as a new member, how actually coordination. What is the plan of coordinating all those groups, and how are they overlapping? If there are some similar activities happening. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. That's the perfect cue for me to sort of head into the next part. I am, even if during the day today someone stole the clock off the back wall, it was there this morning, it wasn't working, but it was still, even if the clock has disappeared, we do need to be time conscious. I've just heard we have another 15 minutes until lunch will be ready or something, so I'll make use of that. I ask you all to sort of jiggle around in your chair a little bit so you're staying awake for exactly this type of question, because I want to, I don't want it to be a panel because then everyone will be sitting up here, but the working group leads, I just do want to ask them a few questions because I did do an interview with them and a sort of survey, and instead of sort of just presenting that, I want to pose a few questions and use these minutes until lunch to do that. I was going to ask Jonathan, so how did you end up being a lead? But you already said that before and preempted that. So maybe, Robert, you can tell us how you ended up being a lead of the working groups.
Well, I think when the whole SuSanA started, I just volunteered and I was part of the secretariat or GIZ at that time or GTZ at that time. And volunteered to take over the lead, and since then I have this backpack with me. I had it in the Philippines and now back in Germany, so it's still there. And but I'm happy to share that. So if there are other interested co-leads or so, then
okay. So with you, it was because you were a part of GIZ at the beginning. How about for someone that wasn't part of GIZ? How did you get your lead?
Because Johannes came in and he and you asked who should be a capacity development group lead, and he said, "Raise your hand." And since then I have this backpack, but I'm actually okay with it.
Okay.
But I had a co-lead in the beginning, which was Halidou Kwanda, but I don't have any co-lead anymore, and I would be extremely happy to have one.
Okay, and maybe you can pass the microphone to Jonathan, who can just sort of say, how would you define your role as a lead?
I would like to see a lead as playing an active role in stimulating and promoting others within the group to do more, and for members of the working group to be stepping forward and then taking more of a lead role in particular activities, rather than the lead being the expectation on the lead being the lead on the activities. But I think a lead role in coordination and also linking in with other working groups and with the secretariat.
Okay. And Trevor, you're just chatting over there, but maybe just the question, as the person in the secretariat communicating with everyone and so on, how would you sort of define the role of the working group leads? What do you want from them? Or
well, I mean, I'd echo a little bit what Jonathan said. I mean, I think it's just a case of maybe getting the message out there, but clearer to all the working group leads that this is, you know, the platform, and you should see it as an enabling environment, as an enabling space. I mean, any initiative can be taken on using this infrastructure. And so basically it's up to the lead, not necessarily to lead every initiative, but perhaps within their working groups to pinpoint one or two initiatives and say, hey guys, go, talk to this guy, talk to that guy, and then this can happen. I constantly, when I have chats with the various working group leads on a one-to-one, try to push this message and this encouragement that it's not, you don't have to feel like you're going it alone. And yeah, that's sort of my take on it and my wish going forwards.
okay. And to involve the other two, you're just starting on a paper and on a working group. What do you seem to be so far the biggest challenges to be an effective lead?
I think the biggest challenges is to play the role of the lead and not being the specialist, I would say, not giving only your ideas, but as well taking the ideas of other person, as I think you mentioned early on. It's very important not to be there as the focus and the central of the center of the working group, but more on just trying to have people speaking to each other and trying to have people involving themselves in the work and the group, really.
Okay, and one last question maybe to Raoul, same question. What's the biggest challenge for you? You have two working groups, and you said before the energy one currently dormant. What's the biggest challenge?
Well, for example, the working group on climate change and renewable energies, the way I became a lead in the first place was we were trying to find a lead for this working group for a very, very long time. And I ended up doing a course in climate change adaptation, and then suddenly I was put into the role of being the working group lead. And what I find was there it would have been great to have another co-lead with whom we could have, it would be much easier. From my professional background, I'm not so much into technology as such, especially when it comes to biogas systems and etc. And so I always felt there was some a person who is deeply involved into such a topic could drive the working group much more effectively. And there I thought a co-lead who could take that role would have been much more appropriate.
Yeah, so this hopefully also ends up in the minutes, is carried out, and people on the internet perhaps see also that there are calls for other leads or other people to step up.
Yeah, I was just going to say that it seems that many of the leads are very busy people. I think probably everyone who's here is very busy. And it seems to me, as someone who is not a lead, but more of an implementer in the field, that in order to get feedback from people who are actually doing the implementation, you need to have someone reaching out personally to them on a regular basis and sort of keeping up with what they're doing, and then reaching out and saying, hey, can you share this specific information that we read about on your blog? And I think that leads probably don't really have the time to do that. But this might be the perfect sort of position for internships. So students who are looking for, a several-month unpaid internship, to sort of bring them in into the working groups and really have their internship focused on reaching out to implementers in the field, because it's something that is very time consuming, but it's the only way that you're going to get people in the field to respond is if you pester them personally, I think.
Okay. So we're getting first ideas, marking that down.
Well, I can only repeat that.
Thumbs up from Jonathan.
I can only repeat that in the beginning it was that we only do what we do in any case. We don't do something additional. And if we identify a topic that 3 organizations or 5 organizations are doing in any case, then it's useful they do it together and somebody is sort of coordinating what's happening. If nobody has it on its table, especially if you have a lot to do, then it's difficult to do it. And we are accepting that some of these working groups were starting immediately and very fast, and some because we were sure, for example, emergency sanitation, the topic, no doubt it is important, but for I think 1 or 2 years there was nobody identified to pull it. Still, that's not a reason to cancel the working group, and it's not a reason to put pressure on somebody who is not there. And I think that after the International Year of Sanitation, some things have been done and fulfilled, and now we're in the situation of sort of reorganizing us, and we have to look closer what are people doing in any case and what is on a level that is appropriate for SuSanA, and looks into that next bigger thing of 2015 and what will come down on the implementation case. I don't think that an intern would be in an easy position to, well, he can do much of the legwork, but he would need some help to get doors opened or to get people identified.
Okay, thank you. Dorothee wanted to add something before we go to lunch. Oh, Anna, one more point to this discussion.
Yeah, it seems to me that the academics that are involved in some of these topics may not feel that there's an entry point for them, not an obvious one. And it strikes me that either master's students could get involved in this kind of thing. It's a very fast way to get going with the literature. The other one is to get practical action in rugby in the UK. The publisher that appreciates the work that SuSanA does, to get them actually involved in the working groups. And kind of a capacity. There's a journal called Waterlines. We can very quickly link the working groups to that journal. It means that you actually get some publicity for the efforts. And
Can
the
you
other
say
one,
the name again?
Waterlines, published by Practical Action. And you'll see at World Water Week there's a couple of books, Peter Morgan's book, for example, and the Erdos book we wrote. Those are published by Practical Action. Each of the working groups could actually have a publishable product as a goal. That's one way of getting things going. I mean, you want to look at products, outreach, and that sort of thing.
Okay, great idea.
Yeah, I think what Anne said is very important. If you look at the history of SuSanA, that it was an effort to say we have to create synergy between organizations, partners, not to replicate work towards this topic. Yeah, and that is also one of the main reasons to have good working groups running. They must be run or supported by people who are very in-depth in a thematic. Yeah, so they will be efficient because anyway they have to work on that topic. On the other hand, if you are getting too diversified, 12, 14, 20 working groups, you are getting to a very too specific topic, and then you will produce for a time being probably something for a year, and then this topic is over. So I think for future we must think about what are really key areas. Finance, economics, governance, capacity development, the technology, those I think should still be there. And for some others we can also think, is it better to combine them, and focus and them have probably an area of activity, and for a time being you specify on wash and nutrition and things, to have probably not 12, probably having 7 or 8, but with more and more continuous dynamics. That's what I think.
Okay. last comment from John Sauer.
Thanks. Actually, I've got a question and a comment. One is, does anyone know the history of why sanitation and a business and public awareness are together? They seem a little. I don't get it at all. It makes no sense to me. And second, I totally support Jonathan's idea about combining the finance and economics and the sanitation as a business working group, but I don't know what happens to the public awareness, because I don't think that should come. I mean, this is all public awareness, right? Somehow, although I think there is a point around, raising the issue of sanitation and keeping that on the radar, which Jack Sim certainly is the guy who does that, and so maybe he has his own working group on public awareness. I don't know.
Did you want to answer that question?
I'm part of this problem there, if you like. No, 2007, when we were brainstorming this stuff in Eschborn. So social marketing was a working group, and we put it in with business, and it definitely the word marketing was the driver there.
Yeah.
And I think you probably accept that. Swallow.
Okay. Then I think it is, and I think we've all earned our lunch. We will come back to this point, look at the study, and then how to specifically take things forward afterwards. Dorothee had one announcement to make. Sorry, I should be speaking into this. We will be going to lunch and then coming back. Dorothee wants to make an announcement concerning her working group meeting because she forgot to say where it is.
I did not mention it, but my biggest challenge as a lead is actually to get this feedback and to give the room for the other members of the group to start an action. So I would invite you tomorrow afternoon at 3 o'clock in front of the Parkside restaurant. That's the water restaurant upstairs at the World Water Week, and I would be really happy to see many of you there for a Working Group 1 meeting.
Perfect.